Welcome back to the Wizarding World, everyone. Last time, we attended Potions, Herbology, and Flying class, learning several new spells for all those teachers. We also got Nardsai on our team to help with Rookwood, though I'm a little worried about her, honestly. We haven't really seen her since then, I think, unless it's been briefly in a class, which I don't think so. We then managed to go through a lot of unexpected series of events which resulted in us discovering a secret map chamber underneath Hogwarts made by Percival Rackham himself. After showing it to Professor Fig, we learned there are trials marked for us to complete, and so we've gone to find the first one. Let's see how this goes. After waiting, we talked to Professor Fig and learn Ranrock's loyalists are here at the tower for some reason. We decide to use the disillusionment charm to sneak in and see what's going on, and are taught we can use Petrificus Totalis, a freezing spell, when disillusioned and near enemies while undetected. I managed to completely stealth the camp, only almost being caught at the end, and with this new stealth option to gameplay, I'm very happy. I love stealth options. It's the reason that Dishonored and the Deus Ex Human Revolution games are one of my favorites. I haven't played the other Deus Ex games, to be specific. It's why I'm not saying the whole series. We find a message from Ranrock telling his goblins to search the tower. Something about a list of names as well. And then a big bad goblin mini-boss arrives. But sadly, we don't get to fight him. Professor Fig does. Not me, though, because somehow the cutscene got me stuck in some stone steps. I managed to survive with a Wicked World potion and kill 2 goblins with my ancient magic, but I literally can't dodge, parry, use spells, anything. I could only use my ancient magic for some reason. I even discover after the fight, I can't open my bloody menu! I literally can't! What the hell is going on here? I quit out of the game and find myself at an autosave, which thankfully doesn't put me back on the steps. Or in them, to be specific. We find a painting of the moving Percival Rackham on the upper floor of the tower, and soon Professor Fig leaves as we must do the trial alone. Then, heading back to the entrance, we find a rune of ancient magic to investigate. This wasn't here before, game. I explored this whole room. It opens the door up, and that ends up leading us into the same magically advanced designed area, I don't even know what to call it, that we'd seen in Gringotts and the restricted section. We activate a rune to fix a bridge, and I love how our character says that must have changed something, as if it wasn't obviously above us. Heading across said bridge has us fix another gate, and walking through that brings us to a fight against some statues again. I mess up around near the end, trying to use my Mandrake, but at first my L1 wheel of potions and plants wouldn't come up. It opens up finally once the big statue's dead, but mandrakes have no effect on statues, so it was useless in the end. Next is a platform puzzle like in the Forbidden Forest. The trick here is that the gates, when walking through them, change the area around you. I assumed they just took me to brand new areas, but not for this puzzle. Or maybe they haven't at all and I'm just a fucking idiot. It also seems walking too far away just resets the puzzle. What? I get the platform stuck at one point, which is funny, but end up acquiring the chest and moving on. I then find myself in a huge fight against a couple of brutes, and upon destroying all but one brute, although it turns out, after this I was completely wrong and I'll explain how soon, but originally I thought that after you get down to the last brute, smaller statues come in. It turns out every time you kill a brute, 2 statues come down. It's chaos. I die a few times, though at the time I was tired and so I tried again another day, roughly 2 days later, and after a nerve-wracking attempt, I come out on top. This fight would honestly be no problem if I had Wigan World Potion, but I have none at the moment. I also forgot about my plants. Though, because mandrakes have no effect on statues, I'm not even sure if the venomous tentacula would either. And I don't have much of those on me at the moment anyway, so moving on. Solving a puzzle that looks like it'd have side paths for loot, but it actually doesn't. I come to a double-sided staircase with 2 Wigan World Potion at the base. This is worrisome. Another chest gives me 5 more Wiggenweld, and I start laughing. The game thinks I'm shit! The fight up next is basically the same as before, but on a much larger field. After all the statues are taken down, I was pretty happy. I'd beaten this big fight the game thought I needed 7 Wiggenweld potion for, while only using none. And I'm on hard difficulty. However, then the boss arrives. The giant golem that had thwarted Ranrock at the start of the game. Finally we fight this guy. After dying once against him, I sadly die a bit more against the first wave of statues, but on my second attempt against the big guy, I break him down over the course of a long but fun battle. He didn't use any shields that required red spells, so maybe that's for future bosses, but having to use specific spell types to take advantage is a nice mechanic here. It makes it rewarding. We find another pensieve, but before that, you probably noticed my clothes. I forgot to mention, a friend told me about the glamour in this game, how you can make your gear look like other gear if you want to just change the look. I'm now a Death Eater. Mwahaha! Don't tell the teachers. Anyway, we look into the memories of past for Rackham again.
Your ability to transfigure the world around you is remarkable. What is it?
My father isn't getting better. I don't think he'll ever recover from the death of my brother.
It is agonizing to see those we love suffer.
The drought was years ago. But the pain of losing him is as deep for him now as if it had happened only yesterday. He doesn't need pretty pillars, he needs peace. What if I could help him, Professor?
You do so much for your father already.
It's not enough. I want to take away his pain.
It is tempting, I know, to use this magic that you're mastering to transfigure more than the physical world. But human emotion is a potent force unto itself. Even the most well-meaning and competent witch cannot possibly know the consequences of irrevocably manipulating it.
So I'm to watch as my father's pain destroys him.
It is not your pain to take. Every year, a student sees something sillier than I could ever imagine in their tea leaves. Oh, Miss Morganach, welcome back to Hogwarts, Professor.
That's going to take some getting used to. Professor Rickwood?
I was so pleased to hear that you'd accepted the position of Defense Against the Dark Arts, Professor.
Sit, Isadora. Tell us about your travels.
I was actually hoping that you and the others might join me at my home this evening. There's much I'd like to share with you.
That would be delightful. We shall let the others know.
Very well. I shall see you then.
After those two memories, it's so clear that Isadora ends up being evil, or maybe already is at this point. The fact she's the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher too makes me believe the curse of that class is a thing even in this time. So I admit I worry for Professor Hackett and honestly hope she becomes part of the story, just for that, sort of. If I had to guess for what might happen in the future with Isadora though, she might attempt resurrecting her brother or even messing with her father's memories or emotions directly to help. There is a line my character says later on where it says that Isadora was trying to transfigure emotions and things, but she doesn't actually say that directly. It feels like our character's just saying things for the sake of plot, but I don't think that was actually directly mentioned. I think she said she just wanted to help him, not that she was considering messing with his emotions directly. We head back to the map chamber to find Professor Fig and Percival Rackham standing idly, and as we come close, we see Charles Rookwood come onto the painting, left of Percival. We hesitate when saying his name, naturally. We get a little information about the trials, how we'll find artifacts above the Pensieves in each one, just like we did before. Percival then catches Charles up on the Goblin Chaos, and Charles recommends halting the trials until more information comes to light. We explain to Professor Fig about what we saw in the Pensieve, and then decide to go talk to Sirona, since she was talking to a goblin at one point, and might be a key to finding out more about Ranrock. Also, one thing I forgot to mention was in between recordings, Madame Kagawa gave me another assignment. I've got to practice flying near the spires and Keenbridge Tower. After finishing what I need to, I learn Arresto Momentum, the slowing charm. Or I think it's a charm. With that, I head to the Great Hall and meet with Gladwin Moon, the man who had been scared of a demiguise back in Hogsmeade. He tells us about these items with moons inside of them, and when the moon's taken out, the statue disappears. Supposedly, some students let a boggart loose in Hogsmeade, and that's why Gladwin Moon saw a demiguise. So they found out he was afraid of demiguises, and are now messing with him by leaving these statues around, which are in the form of demiguises. They're only accessible via night, though, he tells us later. He mentions there are a couple nearby, one in the hospital wing, and another in the prefect bathroom. We can't get to that area, though, because of a lock on the door, so Gladwin teaches us Alohomora. Finally! The Alohomora spell triggers a minigame for unlocking locks. It's simple, though I feel it'll be time consuming. You gotta move the left analog stick to move the outer rim, which is the green light, and then you gotta use the right analog stick to move the inner one, which is the red light, and you gotta hold them in their correct positions for long enough until it unlocks. It's pretty simple. The correct spots you have to be in are so not frame perfect, just you have to be so perfect you can't move even a tiny bit left and right. So if anyone has shaky hands or something, it's going to be a little bit of a problem, I feel like. We find a letter addressed to Professor Fig, though I only gave it a brief look over, and we find out Professor Weasley's first name is Matilda. We run past Professor Weasley and Professor Sharp, who are discussing how idiotic students can be, and I get almost cornered by a prefect, who I think I was avoiding well, but in fact, he forced me to go the opposite way I was meant to. I managed to get back to the prefect bathroom though, and this place is beautiful. I actually think this is one of the bathrooms, or at least this type of bathroom was the one that Harry was in Goblet of Fire when he opened the egg. It looks very fancy, just like that one, although I might be misremembering. I collect the demiguise statue and work my way up the clock tower till I reach the hospital wing and earn my achievement for all the flue flames unlocked. I almost get caught again as Professor Garlick and another person come down the path I was hiding in, and while I avoid them successfully, I sadly get caught by the nurse.
Who's that tramp? You're not on my patient's list.
Back in the hospital wing, a note about the injury in the Quidditch match is so redacted I can't even tell what happened. I get the demiguise moon and return to Gladwin Moon. It would seem there are dozens of these statues and they only show up at night. Gladwin says for more statues he'll level up our Alohomora, so I'll grind those later. I also realized the voice actor for Gladwin is the Sorting Hat and Nearly Headless Nick, at least for this game. That's why I recognized him. Oh, I like, his voice sounded so pleasing, but I also recognized him at the same time, and why? I had to look him up on IMDb. Next, Beast Class.
Welcome, everyone. I see you've already met some of the many beasts we study in this class. Though be advised, none of these creatures should be taken lightly. They are all in their own way dangerous, especially if one does not know how to handle them properly.
Professor Holwyn Kjorma, you could say, now it's just Professor Holwyn, has plenty of beasts and animals around the classroom. Even a teleporting bird similar to the one I saw in Hogsmeade. We meet Poppy Sweeting, who helps us take care of a Puffskein. Our spells in this mode are used to summon items to feed and nurture magical beasts. We basically learn 2 different spells, one for combing and brushing, and then one for feeding. A student in Slytherin was trying to poach a beast, or at least rip off the whiskers to sell them. Slytherins. We take care of the Kneasel, and class ends with Professor Hoenn being very happy with our efforts. Poppy then asks us to go into the forest with her, and it's there she shows us a hippogriff friend that she has.
Please meet Highwing. Isn't she just magnificent? Go on, introduce yourself to her, but be careful. You must always show hippogriffs the proper courtesy before you approach them.
We bow for Highwing, the hippogriff, to earn its trust, and are then allowed to brush and feed the lovely beast before letting it fly away. Poppy explains she protected Highwing from poachers, and Highwing has been there for her since. Poppy's worried about the poachers, believing they're up to something, but unsure what. Just like Natsai, Poppy plans to keep watch on the poachers as much as she can. Good luck for her. It seems like every bloody character in this game is wanting to kill themselves by getting too close to bad people. Like, what the hell? We are only a 5th year and we're going off bringing the battle to the bad guys and shit. And 2 others are like, well, they're not 5th years. I think they may be a little bit older or younger. They're like, no, I'm going to go close to these evil people and risk getting caught. What the hell are wrong with students nowadays? We get an assignment from Professor Onai of who I'm drawing a blank on. I don't know who they are. But I go collect the troll bogies and then use Depulso on a levitated enemy. It seems that Professor Onai is the divination teacher, but I haven't had a divination class yet, have I? We attend divination class, and I realize this is the room I explored at the end of the first video I posted of this game. It's a classroom? They expect students to climb up here every time? Wow, what? We're asked what we might see in the future, and I answer Triumph, since it's as vague as possible. I'm a bit disappointed we didn't get a proper introduction class with this teacher, but in the end, we're taught Descendo and have now completed the Purple Spell Collection. While asking Professor Onai why she became a divination teacher, I realized she's Natsai's mother. I'm hoping I understood that right. Like, Natsai said that her and her mom had to leave Ugandor, and this teacher is like, yeah, me and Natsai had to leave a place, so I'm assuming it's her mother. After her conversation, we leave her be, and I go to find Sirona to continue the main story. Sirona mentions the goblin she was talking to as a friend named Lodgok, and have known each other since Sirona was setting tables here as a student. Lodgok had gone missing for years to be specific, and only recently came back a few months ago. We ask where Lodgok is and are directed to the Hogshead, and told that we'll find an ally in Lodgok, though he's cautious around witches and wizards. We find Lodgok at the Hogshead, and he's a lovely elderly goblin who is more uplifting than I expected, though he is immediately questioning why I should trust us, naturally. Lodgok seems to know of a way to get Ranrock to confide with him and tell about his plan. There is a relic that was stolen by a witch, a helmet specifically, and it's now in her sarcophagus. We promise to meet Lodgok at the Witch's Tomb, though I can't help but worry this is a trap, mainly because Ranrock hasn't been around since the troll attack, and this would be the perfect chance to show that he's still being wary of us or trying to trap us. It would appear the helmet we're to recover was a sign of peace and hope with the goblins until it was stolen, and Lodgok believes it would mean a lot to Ranrock if it was returned, and perhaps have Ranrock trust him enough to speak of his plan. We're also warned we might fight Inferi, dark forces that live off darkness and the cold, and are weak to fire. Entering the tomb, there's a butterfly puzzle surprisingly. It was here when I tried opening a chest, I realized my gear slots were full, so I went to the room of requirement to collect my plants, identify gear I had unidentified, and then put on my newer and stronger gear before selling the rest. I also changed my glamour before going back to the tomb. Another butterfly puzzle, and we run into our first encounter with the Inferi. They can't be harmed at all unless hit with a fire attack first. I wipe them out, and come to a different type of butterfly puzzle, where once the middle contraption has a butterfly powering it, I must use a force spell to make it spin, and raise a platform to get to another butterfly. I get confused on this weird skeleton puzzle after this at one point, then randomly my character says Accio might help. This leads into the skeleton remains becoming a bridge. Now, there's a puzzle later on that has this happen, and I realized that after I use Accio, it automatically turns it into Wingardium Leviosa because of the fact that the skeleton remains are like being pulled to me, and thus it keeps them in the air. And then once you levitate the remains to a specific area, and they become covered in orange aura, that means that if you let go, they will automatically take the shape of a bridge or whatever. So that's what was going on. I just didn't understand it at the time. I cause a hole in the floor, and then I jump down, quickly opening a shortcut back before continuing on. The next wave of enemies are literal demons. There's so many of them, and they all attack so quickly. I can barely get in a combo. Finally, thankfully, I do get it done, and move on to another butterfly puzzle where I gotta keep hitting the spinner with Depulso while hopping over the lifting platform with the butterfly. Sadly for us, a dead Ashwinder is in front of the witch's sarcophagus, and no helmets inside. We somehow know there's a secret exit, and bring a signet ring from the dead Ashwinder to Lodgok. Lodgok says there is an Ashwinder camp nearby, so we decide to head there and look for the helmet. Funny, a 5th year, and we're taking the battle to these obviously adult evil wizards. I love it. On my way there, I discover an ancient magic hotspot, and after finding all 3 sources of energy, I think it filled up my ancient magic capacity, though I'm not really sure. It doesn't look like it's different. It does say that collecting more of them will fill up my ancient magic capacity, but yeah. I then find a dark arts battle arena. It makes me destroy 10 pots, that is after I kill 2 dark wizards in the area, and after reading the synopsis of the battle arena, however, I hold off on doing it, because it involves using spells I don't have yet, that I'm sure people know exist, but I'm going to wait until I get them myself, if I ever get the chance. Finally, at the camp, a troll has attacked. A teleporting troll at that, and I sadly die from not realizing an enemy was where they were. I decide to stealth it up, allowing me to avoid combat thankfully and find the helmet. A cutscene plays, and I feel it was meant to trigger a fight, but perhaps due to my disillusionment charm, they don't fight me and instead focus on the troll, which allows me to fly away easily. I would have to like play this mission legit and not do the disillusionment charm to know if there was meant to be something that happens there. Lodgok is very happy we recovered the helmet, and he mentions by taking this helmet to Ranrock it might distract Ranrock from his search. We ask him about it, and what he means, Lodgok just stutters and says it's a guess. Sure, just a guess, yeah, that makes sense. I then decide to meet with Deke, who saw a bag called a knapsack arrive in the room of requirement. It's capable of catching beasts, a tool I have been looking forward to. Deke takes us to an area with puffskeins, and we nab 3 of them, magically drawing them into the bag. We go after a flying bird of a beast, then go for a beast called a mooncalf. We're also taught by pressing R3 on our map we can advance time. That's awesome! And will make collecting these demiguises so much easier. Like, Jesus Christ, they can only be found at night. Who cares? It's nighttime all the time now. After collecting a decent amount of beasts, we head back to the Room of Requirement, where, after wishing for an area the beasts can rest and play in, a small greenhouse-looking structure spawns. It then grows out bigger and bigger until we can walk inside. It becomes a wild area for any beast I want. A vivarium, I believe Deke calls it. And then Deke mentions if I want to make sure beasts find a home elsewhere, there is a woman named Madam Peck at Brudenpeck in Hogsmeade who will buy beasts off me. This is something I'm going to exploit in between videos, by the way, because from what I know, this is the best way to make money and I want it. I'm able to make an enchanted loom which is used to upgrade my gear using beast materials. With this, I'm planning to make an early stop to the video though. My plan between this video and the next is to farm knapsacking beasts for money, and to hunt the demiguises. I'll record my doings in case anything important happens, but otherwise, yeah, time to become rich and find those moons, I guess. See you next time.